But the coach of the Collingwood Football Club, Nathan Buckley, joins us again. Welcome to you, Nathan.
Hi, Jared.
I'm well. Congratulations. You'd be feeling a hell of a lot better had the half-time score prevailed.
Yeah, we felt we had the game sort of going our way, but the scoreboard didn't suggest that. But it's always better to be ahead at the end.
It was amazing how the two games on the weekend almost mirror-imaged each other, if I can use that language. The first game was exactly the same as yours. If we have a look here now, the Eagles broke out to a nice old lead early in the piece. You pulled them back a bit, but at half-time they went in with a lead, and you snatched the lead early in the third quarter, only to give it back in the last and go on to win by 13 points. The same with the Dockers. They got out to an enormous lead, and then the Crows slowly worked their way back into it, grabbed the lead, gave the lead back, and then they won by 10 points. It was a fascinating combination. The question is, how do you stop the bleeding when you're in the coach's box and you give away the leaders? Both of the winners did on the weekend. The process towards stopping the bleeding.
Well, they were both pretty low-scoring games, so you feel like you're always in the hunt, I suppose, in those contests where the scoreboard's pretty low. And we have 5 goals won. We gave up in the first quarter, and to give up 4 goals 5 for the rest of the game was a fairly good defensive effort.
When you're 4 down, Bucks, the temptation would be to change all the things that you've planned in the previous 7 days. How difficult is it to resist that pressure?
We just needed to do the things that we'd planned in the.
But you're looking at it get away from you, aren't you? Another goal and you're 5 goals down.
There were clearly some things in our control that we weren't doing early in the match, and you're playing against good opposition at this time of the year. So you go in with the best plans, but clearly they're not all going to come off, and that's why there's quarter-time breaks and half-time breaks. But to be honest, our leaders stabilised the game halfway through the first quarter, and were able to, by quarter-time, execute some of the things that we discussed and execute them well to the point where we were back in the match.
You mentioned the defensive side just with the goals, the 9 goals. I thought it was by far your best defensive effort all year. I thought your press was really strong. I mean, you started, I can't remember, was it 44 tackles inside the forward 50, but you really looked on top of your game defensively. If we look at it here, stoppages created in the forward half, turnovers. At the time in the forward half is significant, 9 minutes 45. It's obviously something that all coaches try and work on, but it just hasn't seemed to have been there. But on Saturday night, I just thought you're really on song Saturday night as a defensive group.
Yeah, we had 16 forward 50 tackles, probably 44 maybe in the front half. But we feel we've been building towards it. We really haven't had our I suppose our most experienced senior lineup together for very long in the season at all. And it's really only been in the last sort of 5 to 6 weeks that we've been able to get the senior personnel back in. I mean, going in this week, we'll have Goldsack, Cracker, Johnson, and a couple of other boys. I think Swanee didn't play last time, and Daisy only played for a quarter sort of against Sydney last time. So we'll have some good ins compared to a month ago, which to play together for a couple of weeks, it makes a difference.
Tell us about Goldsack, because I just think he's such an underrated player. I mean, he's tall, he's athletic, defensively he seems a really critical player to you. On the back of that, will you have to use him in the ruck this week? Now, I don't know whether Dawes is going to play or not going to play, but if he doesn't play, does he become an option? Because he's such a critical part of your forward, your forward 6.
Yeah, well, it won't be Blairy. But anyone else will sort of will obviously be thrown up, but we expect Dawsey to get up. Okay. He obviously copped a little bit of a knock and was very sore in the last quarter. But modern technology, we get him up pretty quick, and especially when it's a final and he's an important player to your structure.
It was a brave effort to come back on. I thought even though he looked like he was just really struggling, just the fact you were able to get him back on the ground, I suspect was pretty significant for you.
Well, it's. If we think it's something that's going to get worse, you clearly don't put him back out. But he only came back on for 6 or 7 minutes, but it was enough to give Darren a rest for that period, and to have 3 players on the bench to rotate with for that period of time just chops up the quarter a little bit and gave us a chance to freshen up our players.
Some fascinating footage at 3/4 time, Bucks. I think you'd subbed Didak out.
Yeah.
We saw you over the top of him, talking to him very rationally and calmly. What was the message?
I was just asking him how he was feeling and how he was going. We needed some fresh legs, and I wanted to know how he was feeling in particular. Jamie Elliott was our sub, and we probably had the choice between Alan and Andrew Cracker at that stage, and I got to both of the boys. You only see the vision of one, but clearly that we were pretty confident and that we made the right decision there. Dorsey went down 2 minutes later.
But, yeah, exactly. But were you talking to him about keeping his confidence up and just sort of telling him that it was just the way that things were panning out? So that
no, I was making in the process of making the decision, getting the feedback from the players and how they actually were feeling, whether they were top of the ground. I think you rely on the honesty of your senior players to be able to make the right decisions at times, and I've got a great relationship with Dids to be able to.
You must have been pleased with his effort, though. Gee, he looked sharp early in the game.
He did, and he played around sort of 80% of his three quarters. So he's had decent exposure on the ground. He had 16 possessions in the first half. Probably could have made more of some of his opportunities, but his intensity, in that front half of the ground was very good for us. Set up a couple of goals, and we were pretty happy with his output.
Your faith in two very important senior players has been rewarded. Travis Cloak, obviously, but the bloke who sort of went in his shadow for a fair while was Daisy Thomas, and he's had a struggle for a long time. His third quarter was sort of almost turned the game, didn't it?
Yeah, look, we forget pretty quickly how good players can be and the quality of them. It's not an easy game, and you can come in and out of form, and as our side is representative of, we haven't had a really clean, successful season over a long period of time. We've been up and down. We had a period of 10 wins there sort of through the early and middle part of the year, but we've really struggled to find our best form sort of towards the latter part of it. We are now, and our better players are playing well. We're buying into the team aspects of it, and that's the major reason we're playing better.
One of the challenges for you on the weekend was to stop Jack Darling. Tuvey got the job again. He's got a fantastic record now on Darling. In fact, for a young player, he's now got a bogey man, and it's probably Tuvey. Darling and Adam Goods have got similar characteristics. Can play forward, can go as high forwards. Does Tuvey come under scrutiny as a man that could go with Goods? Yeah,
look, Tuvey's is an excellent defender for a couple of reasons. I mean, obviously he's got great concentration and ability to stick to his task. He's got good speed and good strength. So his ability to win one-on-ones is excellent against talls and smalls. To be honest, sometimes you wish you had two or three of him because he's one of those guys that just gets the job done.
Does Tuvey allow you to play one person on Goods? Because that's the challenge, I suppose, isn't it? I mean, Goods is that if he plays half forward, but he can also go wing and midfield. I mean, it is nice to have the luxury of not getting lost in the sort of switch. He's certainly one that may be able to go through the middle with him, because I know you did Tuvey Jetta sort of through that middle at the last game you played at ANZ Stadium.
It is. It's something to consider. But, the other thing that can happen is in the other box, if you're actually allowing your structure to be manipulated by a player like Adam Goods, well then that can be something that can be used against you coming back the other way. So we'll obviously have a player that will be keen to spend time on Adam, but we'll have options.
He might be keen, but you'll be keen.
Well, given his form a couple of weeks ago, I'm sure he'd be ready for anyone.
Whilst we're dealing in matchups, is there any possible chance that the marketing people can get their wish and have Sam on Ben or Ben on Sam, whichever way you want to put it?
Well, they'll be in the same part of the field, won't they?
They will.
Yeah.
You would have been thrilled with Sam's performance. It was probably his best game for the year.
Ben's.
Sorry, Ben. Yeah.
It's easy to mix them up.
Thank you.
No, he took 6 marks from opposition kicks, 10 marks, and probably dropped another 4 or 5. But his positioning was very good. And as you were discussing, I think the pressure up the field definitely helps. And our defence, we're 5th over the 25 games to date for points against. So our defence has held up pretty well against quite often a lot of ball that's coming out of the midfield. I think the game is such that if you lose momentum through the midfield or you don't have that pressure in your forward line, it really becomes an onslaught because the ball movement's been so good. So they've held up pretty well, and Ben's been a part of that.
I thought Reed's effort is unusual because a lot of those floating defenders tend to go and spoil. I think Ben's terrific in positioning himself. He's so long, and he's prepared to back himself going for the marks. I mean, I must admit, I love that as a coach when the players can get there too. Is that the way you see it as well?
Well, he's All-Australian on this night last year, and a major reason for it was because he was so attacking with the ball coming into the opposition's forward line. And he's been another player that's had a couple of body injuries early in the season and missed 3 or 4 or 5 games. but he's finding good form at the right time, and he's damaging for us.
Bucks, don't consider this impudent, okay? But if you win on the weekend, Nick Maxwell automatically comes back in for the grand final?
Yeah.
Okay, and one other one I want to ask you. Off the field, you're going to Sereno on Thursday for the funeral of Johnny McCarthy.
Yes.
What have you had to do to your training program? Has it been a major overhaul or not?
No, it actually fits in very well. I mean, I've heard various reports of us having to cram 4 days of preparation in 3 days, and that's simply not true. I mean, all of our preparation started at the beginning of November last year, so I mean, we've been ready for this game for quite a while and building towards it. On a 6-day break, it actually suits us better to train on the Wednesday instead of the Tuesday, because our players are more ready to do something, get on top of the ground and feel better about what we're going to ask them to do on Wednesday.
So then I know they're not fragile, but you've got a 2-hour bus trip to Sereno and back, and then the trip to the airport and the flight to Sydney. No concerns with that?
As long as the boys are doing it together, and they will be, I think there's a benefit in that. And we don't have any problem travelling. We've always enjoyed having that time together, and whilst it's going to be an emotional time, and at different levels for each individual, I think what we've basically worked out is if we're leaning on each other and we are with each other, well then we can handle anything.
Bucks, the music's on, and I know you want to get up there and dance. Appreciate your time tonight. Good luck on Saturday. You're just one win away from the grand final.
Thanks, mate.
Good luck.